Hello and welcome again to yet another episode of LSP Learn Solar with Photons. In the previous episodes, we looked at the batteries. We talked about the different batteries and different types of batteries. Today we are going to talk about yet another important thing if you have your batteries and you want them to be in good health, and that is charge controllers. It's very important, especially for any kind of power systems which you have the solar panels and the batteries. In between, you need something to keep your batteries well charged. And today we are going to talk about the charge controllers. And in this episode, we'll talk about the importance of charge controllers, the different types of charge controllers we have, and what do you need to check when you are selecting charge controllers in terms of the current and the voltages. To start with, why is it important to have the charge controller? Because it's very important to have the charge controller because you cannot connect the cable directly from the panel to the batteries, because by doing so you will damage the battery. So what you need to do is to have a component between the solar panels and the batteries, and that component is charge controller, which is very important as it will keep your batteries well charged with good parameters of current and voltages. Each battery requires a certain current when charging and a certain voltage. So without a charge controller, you will not get those parameters correctly. So it's important to have the charge controller. We have two kinds of charge controllers, the PWM, that's pulse width modulation type of controller, and also we have the MPPT controller, which is a maximum power point tracking type of controller. There is a difference between these two types of controllers because the PWM is the older version one, or I can say traditional one, which doesn't actually maximize the yield of the solar panels. But the MPPT controller, as the name itself dictates, is that it is a maximum power point tracking controller, which looks at the maximum, a point where there is a maximum power between the voltage and the current. So it takes that point where there is a maximum power, and by doing so, it maximizes the yield of solar power system. So those are the two types of controllers. I have one here, which is this is a PWM charge controller. This is a Morningstar TriStar TS60. So this is an example of PWM charge controller. Yep, it is actually designed to work with a 12 volt, 24 volt, and also 48 volt system. Yes, when you are selecting a charge controller, you need to consider the two parameters, which is the voltage as well as the current. So it depends on the setup of your solar array and the battery bank that you are going to charge. So for example, I need a system, I need to charge my battery bank with 50 amps maximum, which I can get from the solar array. Then I'll have to choose the controller which can give that amount of amps, 50 or slightly above that one. But also in terms of the voltages, we know that each array can, when connected in each solar panels, when connected in series, it gives a certain voltage. So your controller should also be able to handle that that voltage that is given by the solar array. So it's important to consider the two factors, the voltage and the current. For this particular case, this is a PWM controller, which is TS60, meaning that it can give up to 60 amps. So your battery bank, if you're charging with your 60 amps, then this one will be suitable one. And the voltage for the battery bank can either be 12, 24 or 48, but the solar array can be slightly higher than the battery voltage. So we've come to an end to this episode of LSP. Don't hesitate to contact us through our social medias and the other contacts shown on the screen. Thank you very much, and follow us for the next episode.